guys, Ken here, your thrifty apprentice. Happy Sunday everyone, and welcome back to the challenge version of a crafty corner. Ooh, have I got a good one for you today. In today's video, we are going to be creating a journal specifically for Inktober, which is ran during the month of October. We're not using any prototypes. We're not using any templates. We are designing from A to Z and going directly for the juggler. So you guys stay tuned. This is going to be fun. Let's get started. For this impromptu journal, to start, I'm using a Swan's Down cake flower box. Now it's empty and I just saved the box. I do suggest that you guys save boxes. It'll be great for your journal making. I'm just gonna break it down. And do keep in mind that you can use other things for your base. File folder, hanging file folder. You can use cardstock or pattern paper. You can make it from the backing of a board left over from your watercolor paper, your mixed media paper. So many different things you can use to create your base. But I'm just gonna pull the box open at the top and the bottom. And then I'm going to look inside to see where it's joined on the side. We'll pull that apart as well. So here my box has been opened. I wasn't the most careful with it, but we're still going to make it work. Now I want to trim off all of the ends. Now that I have trimmed the sides from the base that I'm using, I went ahead and took a piece of the paper that I'm going to be using for my signatures and folded it in half because I'm going to be using this to measure the size I need for the box. Now, before I even jump to the signature section, I'm going to already tell you the paper you choose to bind this with is going to depict the type of journal or sketchbook that you're creating. Because I am creating a sketchbook for Inktober, I'm going to be using mixed media paper, which I have found to work really well with my alcohol inks, my water soluble markers, and my Jane Davenport markers, which are pretty much the ink products I have at the moment. But let's stay focused and get this done. So I want to measure by placing the folded paper up against the actual spine of what's going to be the journal, which is why I folded it up to make sure that I can get it flush. And then I'm actually going to take a pen, a pencil, some type of marking. I'm going to grab a colored pencil here because that's what's handy. And I'll measure just about where I want it to stop. So up top, I'm going to get about 1/4 of an inch from the top. Down bottom, I'll get about 1/4 of an inch. And to the side, I'm going to give it about 1/4 of an inch as well. There we go. Now I want to measure those lines out so that I can trim my base to the exact size. Now here's a little tip to help you cut your front and back even. I just let them meet up at the end, put a bull clip on, and then I'm gonna cut it. I also folded my spine down the middle because we're going to be reducing the size of this spine. The fold has left an uneven crease, but I'm still not going to worry about that. I'll show you how we're going to fix that. First, I'm going to take my ruler and measure. Looks like we have about 2 1/4 inches there, which is going to be 1 1/8 in for my middle dividing mark. I'm going to grab a pencil and mark about 1 1/8 inch which I can't really see, about there, and which is going to give me pretty much half of the spine. Now we have our front and our back piece, and I'm going to rejoin the spine to make it smaller by placing one part on top of the other up to the fold. I'll flip these over. I'm going to grab some Fabrifix. Now that we have the base created, it's time to decide what we are going to cover the base with. Now, you can use many different things here. You guys already know if you watched any of my crafting and journaling videos before. There are so many different choices you can use, from fabric to pattern paper to your own self-made papers. So many different choices. Now that I've cut down my fabric, I'm going to be wrapping the outside of my base with the fabric using Scott's Create glue as well as Fabrifix. Now that the middle section is glued, I can lift back to where the glue ends and then continue to cover. I'm only going to use my Scott's Create here because we'll be using Fabrifix to wrap the other side and hold it securely. Now I'll flip it over to the inside, and I'm going to be using Fabrifix and the glue stick to adhere down all of my corners on all four sides. Now that I've glued down all of my sides, and I make sure that it folds and closes and looks really decent on the outside, I'm going to press this under something heavy. Now, I used Fabrifix, which doesn't typically require this step, but if you used PVA glue or a wet glue or another type of glue that is definitely water-based, you are going to want to press it under something heavy for a couple of hours just to make sure that everything adheres and that your base is laying flat. I'm going to do it simply because I want to put some more pressure on it, although it's not necessary with the silicone-based glue. Now that I've given the cover time to dry, it's all nice and flat, I'm going to decorate the inside before the outside. So, looking at the spine, you can cover the spine with whatever you choose. My suggestion is definitely either tape and then covering that tape, or using fabric, or maybe a thick fabric type washi tape. You can use paper as well, but just keep in mind that paper may actually crack over time as you open and close your journal. I'm going to be using fabric. I've chosen a strip of the same fabric that went on the front cover. But before I actually adhere that down, I want to work on the side panel. And I'm doing that so that I can get it flush up against the actual fold line here and see it without any issue. I've chosen pattern paper for the inside, but it won't be, you know, just a piece of paper adhered down. I'm going to actually turn the paper into a portfolio for the front and back cover that folds out so that each side will contain an additional piece of mixed media paper to do some type of artwork on. So let's work on that. The first thing I'm going to need to do is measure out the width And now I'm gonna actually use my scoreboard to score down my piece of pattern paper. Now I'll flip this over and I'll fold it in. This is double-sided pattern paper, so I will have a pattern on the inside. And we will crease that down. At this step, I want to trim off the excess pattern paper. Now that the extra paper is trimmed, I want to measure the length that I need. Here. Just about. Now I'll fold this side in. Forming a pocket on the inside. You can actually close this and fold it down. But that's going to be too bulky, and that's a pretty deep pocket. So I want to remove this section. Now that this extra panel is removed, we can move on to turning this particular portion into a pocket for reference photos to be put into. So first thing I want to do is put a thumb hole there. Now to decorate the front of the portfolio. I've chosen an envelope that I had from a stationery kit. It has the beach scene, seascapes with the lighthouses. I thought that was kind of cool, kind of fit into what the front cover is designed to look like. So I'm going to be using that, and I'm going to adhere it to the front of the portfolio, opening in the opposite direction, or I'm sorry, opening in the same direction as the portfolio. So they should both open that way. All right. When I adhere it down, because I want to give my envelope room to have things fit in and out of it, I don't want to glue all the way to the edge because it'll make it tighter on the front. I want to kind of glue just directly here in the middle, enough to hold it down really securely, and then I'll be placing it center front of the portfolio. Now I'm going to ink around just the flap of my envelope in order to make it stand out from this particular section, which I'll be decorating later on. Now it's time to fill the portfolio up with some goodies. I'm going to be using Soho Urban Artist Bristol board. This is 9 by 12, 100 pound that I've cut down to fit the different panels of the portfolio. That way I have extra room for illustrating, and I can use wet or dry media on it. Bristol board is a really, really good paper type. So I'm going to flip this open, and I've pre-cut the panels that I need. This one is simply going to slip inside this pocket. You can take it out, paint on it, and then slide it back in. This one is going to adhere here, and then I'm going to be adhering this piece here. So I'm going to get all of that inked around, give it time to dry, adhere it down, and then we'll be back to attach this. Here we have a finished folio to adhere to the back of our drum. It'll fit just like that. So now we simply need to make one for the front, keeping in mind that it'll open from the opposite side, so you'll want to remove the bottom flap on the front side rather than the back side. And it is truly that simple. Now here I have both my front and my back panels ready to go. I simply need to adhere everything down. So let's do that. And here we have our inside finished. I think it's cute. Now we just need to put on our front back cover closure and then do our signatures. Not that much more left, guys. For my front and back cover, the front cover of the journal is going to be the image that we illustrated and painted in this past Thursday's video. I told you guys this would be part 2 to that video, and the back image is going to be the illustration is copyright free that I pulled off of the internet, printed onto sticker paper, and transferred onto half of a 5x7 card in order to give it some stability. Now, of course, those are going to go inside in a lamination pouch, which is how I normally protect artwork that I'm using for the front of my journals. So it will go inside the pouch. And unfortunately, I won't be able to get both of them inside one pouch, and forgive the glare, so I will have to use 2 pouches. So I'll take the pouches, I'm gonna insert the images, I'll cut it down to size, I'll laminate it, and then I'll pull the backing off as I normally do. So I'll show you guys all of that. Now that they're eliminated and trimmed, I can pull the backing off of each one. I'm going to take them to my sewing machine and do a zigzag stitch around each one. I'm going to be using a ribbon for my closure, and I'm going to be adhering it under the front and back panel so you will be able to see it down the spine. I think that's going to look really nice once I actually bind in the signatures with white embroidery floss. As you can see, my glue did seep through my ribbon, but I'm not really worried about that. Now I'm going to go ahead and adhere down the front and back panel. Now I'll press this under something heavy and give it time to dry for a while like we did once before I move on to doing the inside signature. But this is what the journal is shaping up to be so far. Now to work on a signature for my journal. So my journal is for Inktober, and I want the papers to be able to handle alcohol ink, water soluble ink, watercolor, and ink for ink and wash if I choose to. So I'm using a mixed media paper, which I've already tested and been using for a while, and I know that it will handle all of the medias that I plan on using throughout Inktober and beyond, because I'm adding more pages than just the ones I need to do Inktober, so that I can continue to paint in this journal beyond October. So I've already divided my paper up. Now I took Universal Mixed Media Pad, and the paper is 11 by 14, and cut it in half. After cutting each one in half, I'm going to be folding those in half to make the pages for my signature. And there will be 3 different signatures that has 20 or more pages, because I did randomly add some other pages, but the concept will be the same. So basically, I'm going to take each one of these, fold them in half, and after folding them in half, I will be inserting them into each other to form a signature. So here, guys, I have folded my signatures, and I've gone ahead and trimmed off the ends of each one to make sure that they're all going to be even and match up inside my journal. I also created the strip to show me where to put my punch holes for doing a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, which is what I'm using to bind my journal. I basically just cut down a piece of scrap paper to fit the spine, and then I divided it out evenly, horizontally and vertically where I wanted them placed, making sure that my middle one hit the ribbon. Now, I'm not going to be actually doing the binding on camera. I'm going to link a video right there in the top right hand corner, which will take you to another video that will show you in detail how to do the 3-hole pamphlet stitch. But for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead, bind the book with the 3-hole pamphlet stitch using some white embroidery floss and an embroidery needle and an awl to punch my holes. Like I said, I'm going to link that video, and then we're going to come back and take a look at the final journal. Because this is not a junk journal, I don't have a lot of things that I need to insert. And we've already inserted the extras when we originally made the front and the back inside covers extensions. So I'm going to go ahead, get this bound, and then we will come back and take a final look at the journal that I've created for Inktober 2023 and beyond, because there are extra pages. All right, guys, be right back. Okay, guys, and here we are, all wrapped up and done. That's the front of our journal with our custom painting. I like that. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be like self-promoting or anything, but I really like the way they came out. Here is the side of the journal where our binding went through our ribbon with our white embroidery floss. And here's the back of our journal with the back panel that we did and adhered to the back to hold down the ribbon. Now, here's the thing. When I initially designed this, and this is what happens when you don't create a prototype at first, guys. I didn't think it would stay closed, which is why I put the ribbon on there. Had I known, I would not have put the ribbon on there. So, because I now know that it will stay closed, I'm going to leave the ribbon on as a design element, but it won't be for closure. Watch. And just like that, the ribbon closure became a simple design element that I feel like added even more pizzazz. And as you can see, the book stays closed perfectly fine on its own. I am really happy with the way this turned out. Let's look real quick. Flipping it to the inside, keep in mind that you had the pocket on top of the folio that opens up to give you 3 additional spaces to paint or illustrate, including a pocket that you can also store reference photos in, as you can on the front. 3 signatures, giving me well over 31 pages to paint for all of Inktober and beyond, October as well. Flipping over to the back, which is the same element as the front, with the envelope pocket for reference photos or additional paper storage, and it flips open into the 3 panels for you to paint, including the pocket where you can still store reference photos or other pieces of paper. Yes, it's straightforward, but it's also pretty cool, I think, and I'm going to really enjoy painting in this journal for Inktober. All right, guys, there you are. There you have it. I know it was a little bit different from the other crafting videos simply because we started without a prototype and we just designed together from start to finish. Hopefully you guys liked it. You found something helpful. You picked up on a tip, trick, or technique, or you simply just enjoyed hanging out with me, watching me craft on a Sunday. Whatever the case, guys, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. It's going to really help the channel. It's going to let me know that you're enjoying the content. Go ahead, hit the comment section. Let me know what you think. Remember to share. Sharing is caring, and maybe someone else would love to know how to make a journal of their own. Join us Thrifty Apprentice Facebook group, Paints, Pencils, and Pastels, which you will find a link in the video description, where we do all things artsy and crafty, and all artists and crafters are welcome. We respect each other there, guys. It's really, really cool. Oh, by the way, be sure to join me back here this Wednesday for Water Soluble Wednesday. I have a very special video coming up with a collaboration for a wonderful artist who you guys saw me spotlight in the community blog section on my YouTube channel, where I have started to feature artists that do a wonderful job and may not necessarily have the platform as some of the bigger artists or the bigger YouTube artists and content creators on YouTube have. So I'll be having a collaboration with Dawn from Made by Dawn this Wednesday coming up. So you guys be sure to come back and check that out. The video description also has a link for the Etsy shop, which is constantly being updated, a link for the Patreon account. Well, and on Patreon, guys, I've started a brand new behind the scenes series called Thrifty Reels, a behind the scenes look, which is only available on Patreon, starting with yellow level users. Real cool. It's a much more relaxed series, much more after 5 behind the scenes types things. So you guys go check that out if you're interested in it. Keep in mind, there's also a link for the most recommended products, where you can find great quality products that will not break the bank or the pocket. Guys, thank you so much for joining me here on this Crafty Corner Sunday, and I will see you guys back here Wednesday. Remember, as I tell you at the end of every single video, just keep painting and crafting.